2, 1, go.
Hello, hello. Ignacy and Stephen, Portal Games.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. This is Board Games Insider, episode 174, I think. I didn't change the number here. Is that right, Ignacy? Check that out. And we're recording this on November 25th, 2020. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And Tom Vassell keeps telling me how good and relaxed I look these days in retirement. I think he wants something from me. Ignacy, what do you think?
I think you look relaxed and happy.
So you mean he's telling me the truth for a change? He's actually being nice to me?
Yep.
Something's not right about that. I don't know if I believe it, but how you doing?
I'm amazing. I'm okay. I want to report to our audience that Stephen keeps teaching me English. Today I learned a new sentence. It goes like, "Are you almost ready, Ignacy?" Yes, I'm almost ready. I am ready for recording.
Because you're saying that because I'm always like fiddling with things, trying to get the video recording going and then get the audio recording and tuning ourselves up and getting the show notes ready. I do all the work on this podcast. So don't even start with me. I'm retired. Why am I doing any work?
If I use the phrase, "Are you almost ready?" in English test in Poland, I would get bad rating. It doesn't sound legit.
It doesn't sound legitimate, right? All right. Enough silliness. What's going on in the real world of Portal Games?
In news of the week at Portal Games, we started this week new YouTube channel. Be with me here. We still have our main channel, Portal Games Movies, but we decided to open like a side channel for our gameplays. We have a ton of gameplays recorded with our team from Twitch, and I know there is an audience for that, for all of you who want to watch something like that, but also there are people who don't want to watch gameplay. So we started a brand new channel, Portal Games Gameplays, and you can see us and our friends playing games like Robinson Crusoe, like Neuroshima Hex, like Alien Artifacts, etc., etc. So I strongly recommend everybody to check out this new YouTube channel, Portal Games Gameplays, and see our games in action. This is the best way to see how they work, what rules maybe you are missing, what rules you want to learn. So this is the news of the week, Portal Games Gameplays, our new YouTube channel. For Brag of the Week section, Detective Season 1 sold out in France. I'm super proud, super happy. Detective is super popular in France. Golden Ace back then for the base game of Detective. The game is selling strong for the whole time, for these few years now, and now released Season 1 in France, sold out immediately. So I'm very, very happy. And I want to thank everybody who is supporting the title and saying nice things about that. And it brings me to how do you say this is a rant? I think the word is rant, like a sort of distraction from the news segment. But I was thinking, believe it or not, about you playing Detective with friends. You did it a few weeks ago. You mentioned that you played with your friends the game Detective. And I was thinking, Season 1, yes.
Season 1, Paula and I played Season 1, and we did really badly.
And it made me very happy knowing that you are playing the game, and I was thinking about that. And you know what? We have one thing in common. We have so many things not common together, but we have one thing in common. We hate rulebooks, and we are very vocal about that.
Yes.
And when I was thinking about the Detective Season 1, and about thinking that you played the first case and you did terribly, etc. But what I can see that next weekend or 2 weeks later, you have other friends coming over to your house, and you have no hesitation to start a new case for Detective because the game is so rules light. You are just read the card and conclude and did that and thing. So I was very happy knowing that my friend Steven is playing. But then when I was thinking, this game is so easy to take from the shelf and continue to play. You don't have to read the rulebook again, remind yourself anything, just play and have fun. Yeah. So I want to congratulate Ignacy for designing such a rules light game. But I think you understand what I mean. Yes, that.
See what I'm doing here? You see, our watchers can see what I'm doing here. I'm doing a virtual pat on your back for praising yourself so well here. But you are right. I mean, I'm it's clicking. I actually played with 5 players in total, myself, Pauline, and 3 friends who'd come over. And yeah, it is like that. I mean, yes, I did read the rules beforehand, and Paula read them
And
too.
now you
Well,
just know them, yes? And now you
yeah, and
just know
Paula's
them.
like, and we were like, is that's it? I said, this is pretty darn easy. We could just pick this up and play the next case next time. And yeah, it's that intuitive. Yes.
Yep. So I'm super happy for all those people who will buy this game and just play without any hesitation about the rules and doubts. Upcoming street dates this week, November 23rd, the Robinson Crusoe Treasure Chest released worldwide in America. So I hope that all fans of Robinson Crusoe will find this expansion under the Christmas tree. A ton of content for Robinson Crusoe, my beloved game, and rumors and gossips from the HQ. One thing that is not mentioned in show notes, but I want to share it. I hate COVID. At this moment, I hate COVID. And everybody who listens to our podcast knows that I'm introvert, Stephen is extrovert. Stephen loves to party and meet people. I like to sit at home and drink tea, like we are different characters.
Yep.
But even I'm tired. Like sitting in this office, I have 2 people or 3 people in the office and 20 people working home office. It is so sad. It is so depressing to see all these corridors and rooms empty and dark. And this, my beloved company, my headquarters, and I'm sitting here empty rooms. Terrible. I'm super happy to see that all these vaccine and medicine news coming. That hope is there. But today, literally today, I was sitting here in the office and it is terrible to sit in the empty office. Going to the more bright news.
I'm going to agree with you completely.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Stronghold Undead in transport from China. For all of you who backed the project, for all of you who support my Kickstarter, it's getting very, very close for us to finally ship the product for you. I hope you will love it. And for me, what I'm doing right now in the office these days, preparing pre-order campaign for Vienna Connection. Vienna Connection is this spy game in the detective line, and the game is ready. The game is final, and now I have to prepare pre-order campaign for all our fans who want to pre-order directly from the publisher and get some goodies and mini expansions and promos. I'm on it right now. So this was happening in this empty, sad, hollow place.
How many people are coming in sort of on a daily basis, approximately?
I have 26 people working in the company, and on average we have 4 people in the office. So this is like a really very low percentage of people.
Yeah.
For example, today,
do you go every day?
I go every day, because I cannot stand these cats and my kids at home.
You and Tom Vassell, the anti-cat league. That's so funny.
But for instance, today we got samples for Neuroshima Hex Anniversary Edition coming to our office. So Greg Polewka, our production manager, showed up, checked the samples, and went back home to continue home office. So basically, the whole building is empty, and it is devastating for me. Tell us about bright life of the old person.
So mean. I'm just going to call you Tom. Is that okay? From now on, you're just going to be Tom. Tom 2. So over here at the Podfather of Gaming, nice, light, gentle week. It is a holiday week in the United States. This is Thanksgiving week when we're recording this. Okay. Right? Thanksgiving is tomorrow. We're recording this on the 25th. The 26th is Thanksgiving. So everybody kind of like takes time off, and that even includes people who do a little bit of stuff. So I've been having just a very gentle week here. But let's talk about my gaming though. So my gaming that I did right at the end of last week was with Tom Vassell and Mike Delisio and Roy Canaday, and we played Twilight Imperium 4th edition. First time I'd ever played 4th edition, first of all. But we played also, the really cool thing is with the Prophecy of Kings expansion. It was a great experience, a very long experience. We played for like 7 hours at Dice Tower headquarters. There was a lot of we have to kind of, refresh rules. For me, I had read the rules beforehand, but still, it's a slightly different game than 3rd edition. and I hadn't played that in 5 years anyway, plus with the new expansion stuff. So it was a big block and all day kind of thing. Great fun. Good times were had by all. The newbie, Mike Delisio, he had never played Twilight Imperium at all before, and he won the game. He bolted out really early, and we couldn't catch him. I came in dead last. And the cool kind of thing is that I'll soon have the video of the week for you to check out, because we did film the whole thing. We're not going to show the 7 hours. It's going to be like very quick, like between the different segments, and you'll see the stuff moving around on the board kind of thing really quickly. But then after every round, they call them rounds or turns. I think rounds, I guess. After every round, when everybody goes and you flip the next card, the next objective card over, we did private videos. So like awesome. I would go there and I would say like, well, my strategy here is, to go to do this, and then I'm going to backstab. And you gave that little background thing for like a couple of minutes. Each of us did that for each round of the game, which was very cool. And that was fun to see our strategies evolve over time. We haven't, that hasn't been put together yet. And we're going to do a recap sort of like as we do it. After we show that or before, I don't know how they're going to do it exactly, where the four of us are going to get together like on a Zoom kind of screen. Okay. And we're going to talk about the game experience, what we liked about the game, we didn't like about I loved it. So I never talk negatively about. Tom will give his usual negative Nelly things about, whatever, the game takes too long, the expansion does this. I loved it. Had a great time. When you can play epic games like that and you can dedicate that much time, I think it's one of those things you just remember for like the rest of your life or like for years. Like Roy said something great, I thought. He goes, it's really hard to be a responsible adult and play games like this because, right? So he must have gotten there at 9 a.m. to set the whole game up. I arrived at 10 and then we were going to start playing soon thereafter. And, I left at like dinner time and they were still cleaning up and doing stuff. So if you understand, like it's hard to dedicate that much time and still have a life with your wife or your kids or things like that. Great time. I give thumbs up, and you'll hear more about my feelings, in general about the expansion when we do that video. Stay tuned for that. I won't belabor things too much more. I'm going to mention just again, shout out to the videos that we are posting at the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel for this. If you're simply listening to us and you want to see us doing this, maybe you can't listen as often anymore, but you can sit there and watch it. Check out the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. Look for the Board Games Insider videos that I post there, and you can check us out. Still doing the happy hours. I'm going to continue to remind you, 7 p.m. Eastern time every week on Thursday and 4 p.m. Eastern time every week on Sunday. Come join us for some good positivity. Board Game Breakfast canceled this week because it's Thanksgiving, Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, but every week we're going to be doing that. Final thing, news of the week is definitely COVID. I mean, you mentioned how crappy COVID is, and yeah, of course, COVID vaccine news gets better every week. It's like on CNBC, that's the news channel that does all the financial news. I watch more CNBC now than all the time. I got to watch where my investment money is now that I'm retired and I have no income. So they keep calling it Vaccine Monday for the last 3 weeks because there's been better and better news every Monday, and it's just great. So one of my predictions, and you can't take this one, Ignacy, some prediction I'm going to have for our predictions episode is that we will see and one is some, but we're going to see some major gaming conventions going on this year because of all of this great vaccine news. But at the same time, please maintain vigilance, stay safe, masks, wash your hands, social distance. We're all in this together. Let's make sure we take care of each other through these trying times. There's my public service announcement for the week. And with that, let's get over to the event deck. All right, so Ignacy, we couldn't get to this last week. Obviously, this is like 2 weeks old at this point. But Board Game Geek has a new homepage. And what do you want to say about it? I think it looks like it's finally like, a 21st century website, I think it looks amazing, right? The funny thing is, of course, everybody has to complain because people just love to complain. But the great compromise on the whole thing is that you click on the little button right next to where it starts up, which is Explore button. You click on the dashboard button and boom, you're back to the old thing.
Yep.
What a
That's
perfect solution that they came up with to make this thing actually look inviting to a new gamer who would go over to Board Game Geek and they'd be like, this is crazy. I can't, I don't know what's going on here. So it's the Explore button is such a cool way to slowly get into the whole thing. What do you think?
I absolutely love the new layout. We all were waiting for this for years now. I remember talking with Scott many generations ago about how the whole industry needs that, because if anybody is now Googling about board games, is a new gamer, he wants to learn about board games, he types board games, how to start, and Board Game Geek will show up. And this old website was not very welcoming. It was terrifying for all these new people. So we all as the industry were encouraging Scott, please, we need this new layout. We need it look modern, and it looks modern. And besides it looks modern, it has a couple of features that I want to mention that surprised me, and I love them. And what I mean is that besides all the things that were before, like blogs, video of the week, news of the week, all these things that we already knew, there are these new items, and they are called a creator spotlight. When we are talking about one of the publishers, we have a game spotlight, and there's one game that is discussed on the front page. We have a designer spotlight when they take one of the designers and show his work, his games, etc. And the mechanic spotlight when they choose, for example, right now on the page there is a hidden roles games. Both of us, Stephen and I, love this game. So hidden roles mechanism, it is explained, and a couple of games, the best games in this mechanism presented, and you can learn more about it. So this is like this random pieces of information about our hobby, the publisher, the designer, the mechanism, that if you're browsing and you can click and learn something new that you didn't plan to learn today, for example. So I really like this new feature. Of course, I like the new layout. It's so much easier now to find information on the website. So, and to be honest, on Polish forums, I didn't see any single complaint. So kudos to gamers who were not whining, not complaining, but saw this new approach with the positive vibrations.
I heard there was whining. I actually didn't even see it. I should have said it without actually seeing it, but people told me that there was complainers. People like to complain. It's I don't know, human nature thing, but people really love to complain.
Yep.
I know you do, Mr. Slav.
Oh, I do. I'm the master complainer.
Master complainer, and he's happy about that. All right, so in cool business news, but it's just news that I love to hear, or I like to get into.
Why you use the word cool? I can see interesting, exciting.
Interesting. Okay. All right. It's interesting because it's not cool because it's a lawsuit, right? All right. All right. Okay. Poor choice of words. I apologize for using the wrong English twice now today with you.
Native speaker. Come on.
Thank you for teaching me English, Ignacy. In interesting business news, Gale Force 9 Games is suing Wizards of the Coast. All the cool kids are suing somebody. They're suing for $950,000 US, fees, and other remedies. So let me read this to you. Gale Force 9 filed suit against Wizards of the Coast in Washington, that's state, on Tuesday as a dispute over Gale Force 9's licenses for Dungeons and Dragons products that went south, that got bad. Gale Force 9 is seeking $950,000 fees and remedies. The seeds of the dispute, according to Gale Force 9's complaint, arose in May when WotC let Gale Force 9 know that it wanted to end its licenses a year early on December 31st of 2020 instead of December 31st, 2021. After no agreement was reached on an early termination, Gale Force 9 alleges that WotC stopped approving products for release in international markets where Gale Force 9 had translation and distribution rights. This month, the dispute led to dueling notices of breach of contract between the companies. Gale Force 9 notified WotC that it considered its failure to approve products for sale a breach, and WotC notified Gale Force 9 that it considered the conduct of two of Gale Force 9's subcontractors and distributors, TRPG Club in Korea and Black Book Editions, which publishes translations in French, to constitute breach of contract by Gale Force 9. Gale Force 9 claims that no breaches on its part occurred, and if they did, they were cured. So, it's very interesting. Obviously, we're not seeing the full picture, and we don't know the details of this. But I gotta look at this just at first blush. That's an expression Ignacy in English. At first blush, it looks like Wizards of the Coast is not necessarily acting here in good faith. And then they were making excuses about breaches of contract, even though these other things were going on for a while. Can't say that for fact, of course, but this will be interesting to play out. And, you don't try to sue somebody unless you think you have a chance of winning. And Gale Force 9, I don't know, their position looks fairly strong here. Ignacy, any comments?
Yeah, this is interesting to give our listeners a picture. It is mentioned here in this news, but let's put an accent on that Gale Force 9 is licensing Dungeons and Dragons to different countries. So we all know that Wizards of the Coast does Dungeons and Dragons, but if you're talking about the French edition of the game, the license is bought from Gale Force 9, not from Wizards of the Coast directly. So if Wizards of the Coast was making trouble for Gale Force 9 to prepare files, etc., for these local markets, in these local markets, the product was not released, yes, because there was no access. So we are talking about the influence on many countries in Europe, and there was also one in Korea, that are working to prepare new expansions, and these expansions are not released because some approvals are not made. And of course, it makes a lot of angry gamers in these local countries. We have in Poland here Rebel Games, Asmodee Poland, doing Dungeons and Dragons in Polish. I haven't seen the contracts, but I'm pretty sure that they are working with Gale Force 9 as well. So it could also affect the Polish market, and I can see Polish players being very, very angry that no new supplement is released. So it's very interesting, mostly for these other countries than America, because for the American players, they have Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast and they don't care. But for all of us in other places, if we want new expansions, we need to wait.
Very interesting. I look very much forward to how this is all going to play out. So the next one is about the other Wizards. This is Wizards World. Management and corporate structure at Wizards Brands has been dramatically altered this week with a new CEO, a new division, and president for events and other changes. Scott Kaufman, who's institutional investor in residency. Just think about that title for a second. Institutional investor in residency at Wizard Investor Bristol Capital Advisors, will take over as the new CEO, replacing John Matta. The company also named a new CFO as well. I'm only bringing this up, and I literally only brought this up because I had no idea that this Wizards brand, who runs Wizards World events, gaming events, was so big that they needed to have an institutional investor in residency. I can't fathom why somebody would need such a person, which basically means that you're investing the money of the company. That's what that means. That's the only reason I brought this up. I've got to now do more in-depth look at this company, Wizard Brands, and how much money they bring in for doing game shows, gaming events.
Is Wizard Brain the company who does PAX conventions, or this different company?
No, that's Reed Pop.
Okay.
That's a different company that does this. So I think some investigative reporting on, from Stephen Bonacore might have to be there. Just just to get a perspective on the amount of money that a company like this is making off of you gamers. Not that that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I just want to be interested. It would be interesting to know how much money they're making. And then they're going and investing it basically in other investments in the market. That's what that kind of person does with that kind of title. So I'm writing notes right now, Ignacy. You see me? I'm writing notes in the show notes to go investigate this. Not in a bad way, the way I had to investigate the last thing, the gamma stuff.
I like how our podcast is getting better and better with you having more time and being this investigator. Like we are now really aiming at winning Golden Geek Award next year.
Let me tell you, we don't win next year. We should tell everybody that if we don't win the Golden Geek Award next year,
stop investigating.
We're going to stop the podcast. Okay, it's a table flip. I'm done. I can't. How could we not win with all the work that we put in? Come on, guys.
All right, that's a risky bet. Oh my God.
We'll talk about that in about 6 months or whenever they do it. All right, that's all the news we have. This slow news week, and this is a time of the year where news does get a lot slower. This is a very common thing. It gets slower. All the games are locked and loaded. Big holidays. People are, we're all selling heavily. The industry sells heavily, but the news after Essen slows down considerably. So let's go now to strategy and tactics. Okay, strategy and tactics section. You are asking us questions, not we are asking you. That's later. So Valerie Schrag, who's at SM Pennies on the Geek, she asks, for first-time game designers that don't really have the ability to travel to game conventions, what is the best way to contact with and pitch to publishers? What materials should be prepared before beginning to reach out, i.e. sell sheet, how to play video, pitch video, etc.? Ignacy, go ahead. You're the publisher.
Okay.
You answer first, and then I'll give my perspective.
Absolutely. So first of all, most of the game pitches for portal games, but I guess it's true for many companies, are not done at conventions. Of course, convention is quite a good place to meet with the publisher, to talk face to face, time, etc. But at the same time, we publishers are very busy at the convention. So definitely, most of the pitches are done not at conventions. The procedure is super simple. You send the email with the short description of the game. If you have a sell sheet, like a one-page PDF format with the description of what the game is about, maybe a picture or photo of the components.
Mm-hmm.
If we find it interesting, we will ask you, can you provide us more information? And with that, we expect from you in a very short video put on YouTube. It is very easy to record, even with your own phone, a short video when you talk about the game, why you think it's interesting. Maybe you can show us the first round of the game. If this looks interesting for us, we will ask you for the rulebook of the game. So there's these phases, these steps to achieve, and more deep information about the game. And at some point, we will reach the publisher who will say, after reading the rulebook, we are interested. Let us test a prototype and see. On Monday, 2 days ago, I wrote an article on my blog, and I also mentioned that with Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator, now it is so much easier for you guys, for new young designers, to put your prototype on the Tabletop Simulator, send a link to the publisher, give them a rulebook, and they can play test. So this is also very easy. So don't be afraid you are not going to conventions. You don't have to do that to have your games published.
That is correct. Every word you said, Ignacy, is spot on. And I'm going to just summarize that. You need a sell sheet. That's the one pager. You want a how to play. You want to show people what it's going to look like, what your vision is, and you're going to be moving around the components and showing people how a round works. It doesn't have to be a full thing, a very long production. The production doesn't have to be good. Just show the pieces moving around. That's your pitch video, and you want the rules. You send that off sort of as a package. Try to make contact with as many publishers as this game would actually reach as that would be for. So that's the way to do it. Everyone's got the technology these days to do this. So there's no excuse not to be making videos of your gameplay. John Weston Merkel, who's at Mad Hatter, spelled very oddly, but that's his name. Love your guys' show. Keep up the work. I'm curious here. You guys ever worked on a game based on a book, TV, or movie? How did you deal with translating that content into a board game? Edit. Also, how did you deal with or approach licensing? So we don't normally. I have not done any IP based games where it had to be licensed. Ignacy, have you done any of
I did
those?
Witcher. I did Witcher
Witcher.
a couple
Yeah.
of years ago. Yeah.
So that was you did the game, like you went out to go get the IP.
Yes, exactly right. I felt that I'm ready to create a board game about the most important IP in Poland, and I personally reached the owner of the rights. That was CD Projekt Red, the company in Poland. I reached them, and I presented myself like I'm the designer of Robinson Crusoe. I'm designer of this and this and game, and I love the IP. And if they are interested in a board game. And I had a meeting with the CEO, and I got accepted, and then I started working on the game. So it was exactly me reaching the owner of the IP, presenting myself as a person who is interested in designing the game. At this very moment, I had no pitch, no game. I just wanted if there's a chance to start negotiation, and they said yes. You look like a guy who can design a game. Tell us more. And then I started preparing a game, a prototype, and moved forward.
So Witcher is based around Poland. I mean, is the story?
This is a fantasy set of fantasy novels that use the mythology of Slavic culture. So the monsters, all the things, the magic is very different than in a Tolkien that is based in the British culture. So if you read Witcher, you will find a lot of monsters and spells and magic that is very original in your view. For us, it is like what we were, reading fables when we were kids.
That is very interesting. So you've actually had that exact experience. That's very cool. I did not realize that it was a Polish company and a Polish IP and based on Slavic culture. Very cool. Brad Batchelor, who's at Bachelor B on Board Game Geek, he says, I love the podcast. Typically, how far ahead of the release date are you two working behind the scenes to get a game ready? Are you working on a game now that will be out next year, 2 years from now? Or can there sometimes be a quick turnaround? It's always in advance. What's his name? Brad, always in advance. And, 6 months is fast. 1 year is much more typical, and to have a cycle for a game. Ignacy, what do you think?
So, depending if he's asking us, like me, or he's asking us as an industry, because there are two different answers. So for me, for Portal Games, I'm very not happy with the time we give ourselves between the design and the release. We should have more time. We are always catching up, always rushing things. I would need more time, and I'm hoping to make it at some point. A fact for the companies that I admire, that I respect, that I know how they work. The perfect example is the company Yellow from France, but also as a Yellow USA. And as an example, this Nuremberg Fair, so in January 2020, they were already presenting as the sample copy, like not a production copy, but a very advanced copy of the game that will be released in 2021 at Gen Con. So that was like a year and a half in advance, already artwork, components, everything, rulebook. Yeah. So this is what I admire, what I respect, that they have so much time to prepare the release. For us, as you guys listen to the podcast, and once again, because we are now on video, thanks to Stephen. Yes, this is my desk. This is Vienna connection. It will be released in March, so in 5 months, and I'm still working on it. This is bad. Don't do that. Have more time.
Longer is better. The more time you have, the better the product will end up being.
And if we can once again explain why, if we have more time, we can meet our partners, give our partners more time to decide if they want to local edition, more time for proofreading, more time to send reviewer copies, more time to present the game at the convention upfront. Yeah? So the time can be spent very, very wisely to prepare a better release of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafael Rosario, who's at Curly Fry 1528, I like that one. He asks, roll and write and asymmetry seem to be two current trends in game design. Are there any older historical gaming trends that you see making a comeback this year? That is a hard question. That's like a crystal ball question. Do we think that something is going to come back after a certain amount of time? Honestly, have anything you think if you had to have something maybe you even want to see come back that's been
Yes, at this point it is very hard for me because I'm so deep in these storytelling games, Detective Line, Detective Season 1, Vienna Connection, that to be honest, I don't pay much attention to what's happening around me. This is bad. I'm not very happy with being too deeply focused on the project I'm working on, but this is reality, what's happening. But Detective being the perfect example from 2018, when the old game Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective from 80s made an epic comeback with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective released then by History and Asmodee, and Time Stories and Detective and Chronicles of Crime. So we see situation that the old game, old gem is found and released once again. I see a ton of games lately that are inspired by these old 70s and 80s role-playing games.
I mean, that might be the trend that we just determined, and you figured it out, that the best thing to bring back were these. I mean, you always like games that tell stories to begin with, but like a game that has this storytelling like element directly in, like embedded into the mechanics of the game, like Detective. So I think you've hit on something right there. Gregory Grapperhaus, who's Hawk GPG on Board Game Geek, he asks, do you plan to have a new theme song or bumpers between sections of the podcast for episode 101 and beyond? You guys should do predictions for episode 200. Well, we recently changed a little bit. That was not for 101. That was for Bonacor's retirement. We should probably get some more little bumpers and little more teasing of Tom Vassell things that go on in there. But no, we do these things when they make sense. I don't think we'll definitely do something epic for 200. We have to start planning that one, I guess, pretty soon. I think didn't I figure it out? It's going to be sometime around May. Is that right?
No, that fast? No, come on. It's 30 episodes. It's almost a year.
It's 25 maybe? Episodes. By the way, I think I was wrong, by the way. I think this in the beginning of the show, didn't I say episode 174? This is 173. I think I messed that up. So whatever it is, by the way, we have about 26 episodes or so more, 26 weeks. That's half a year. So yeah, May will be 200 episodes, Ignacy. So start thinking about like something big we have to do.
We may change some bumpers in May. That was
okay.
my joke, my language joke.
What's that?
It was my language joke. We may change it in May.
You may change it in May. A language joke. You know what? Keep your day job, Ignacy. Anyway, Mike Holzman, who's at M Holzma, he asks, just a quick question from a design perspective. This one's all you again. How long is a typical game in the development process? Through that process, are there specific stages and gates that have qualified games out of the process? From a publishing standpoint, I understand not providing specific numbers. What is the upfront capital that go into a game, especially when not using Kickstarter? Is there a certain percentage rule of thumb? Thanks for the great podcast, especially touching on the behind the scenes and business perspectives. So Ignacy, when you're designing, do you have like gates, stages? Do you kind of do that, or is it just kind of intuitive and it just says, okay, well, we can get this out to somebody, and that's the stage, I guess. We can get this out to a independent playtester.
Yeah, on my blog, I wrote an article about the 4 stages of playtesting. So when I design a game, I have these phases of playtesting with the different playtesters and trying to achieve different goals during this process. But of course, it is not always that strict. It is not always the rule, but basically, it's a few months of hard work of different stages, checking for the gameplay, checking for the replayability, checking for the balance, etc., etc. Then the game goes to the edits, and then you have editors checking the wording, checking the rule book, and all these things that are not per se about the gameplay, but about the product to make it amazing, and then production stage, and then distribution stage. So it takes a lot of time. And as you mentioned before, with the yellow, you really need lots of time to prepare the good release of the game. So it's for me, as you guys see, I do one game a year. This is how much time I need to prepare a new game.
Second part of his question is very interesting. What's the upfront capital that go into a game when you're not using Kickstarter? And is there a percentage rule of thumb? And there actually is specifically. You can take the MSRP of a game and divide that by 5 or 6, and that's the cost of the game. And that's very, very approximate, of course. And so the cost of the game is how much we have to lay out as a publisher. The actual cost that gets paid to the manufacturer is the amount of money you have to lay out, plus another, let's say it's a container of games, a full container, another $5,000 or $6,000 potentially to ship the game over. That's the amount of money that becomes your initial cost to make the game.
And it changes because Stronghold Games was a company that is licensing games for American market. For us at Portal Games, you have to add the cost of artwork for the game, all these things that you design, and of course the salary of the people working on the game. That is me or my developers or playtesters. So there is additional cost that is quite significant besides the production cost of the physical product. So, but basically, if you're talking about the cost, look at the Kickstarter. The thing that they're trying to achieve, sometimes they are true about the cost of the production of the game. Not
Sometimes,
always,
but not
sometimes.
always. One last question. We've got a lot of questions today because our news was, I guess, shorter. Gustavo Belota, who's at Chindogu. How difficult is it to collaborate on a game design with another publisher, such as Portal Stronghold? How do you divide the labor? Is it worth it to have a different design teams looking over the same game for development purposes? So he's asking about truly doing something in a collaborative nature, like for like Stronghold, the game. Ignacy just let me license the game. So that was it. He loved me. He thought the company was great. We were going to have a relationship. I was going to help him promote the brand in America. That's how that happened. How many times have you ever done, if at all, a co-design like with another company? I mean, you've done co-designs with designers.
Yep.
That's an interesting way of talking. Like, how do you divide that work up?
With the other publisher, no. I had situation when we had a prototype, the sample of the game that our partner wants to release, and we were brainstorming, giving them some ideas, some feedback, what we see, how they can change components, maybe how they can improve the rulebook, but not per se collaboration to design a game between two different publishers. I never did it, and I'm not sure if it ever happened.
Yeah, right. That just doesn't happen. So I think that maybe where he's coming from is the thought is that when Stronghold, who did so many of these co-publications, it's really being done by another publisher, all the design work and the art and all that. It's all on them to do that. And then we license that. We pay them the cost of the game and a licensing fee. You see all that cost that goes in, and that gets it, have to factor into what the price of the game is going to be. We pay them that because they did all that work. So we have to pay them for that licensing fee. It's not a division of labor. We give feedback. We certainly give feedback on every game, basically, that we will co-publish. We would
if we can add a little bit more about the labor, the work that you do, or like Z-Man Games was doing for me when they were releasing Robinson Crusoe. You do the whole marketing. You do the whole presentation of the game in the local market. You do all the things that you can do to make this game successful on this local market. And when I was a small company from Poland and I licensed the Robinson Crusoe to Z-Man Games, they did all the work to make this game successful in America. And of course, it's a ton of work, but it has nothing to do with the design of the game.
Very true. All right, Ignacy tells me we got to move on to our playtesting segment. All right,
How's
in
my
playtesting,
how's my
where
grammar
we
today?
question you. Oh, sorry, Ignacy, that's right. You're supposed to talk first because it's your question this week.
Yes, we not play test you. We question you. I question you. I question Stephen. And is my question in English or Polish?
It's it's pretty good. I'll do an edit on it, but go right ahead.
Um, I expect many of us will buy quite a good number of games in upcoming weeks because of the Christmas, and we will have new games in our collection. So there's a question: what do you do with the games you don't want to have in your collection anymore? Because if you get so many new games, you have to get rid of the other games from your collection. How you approach that? What you do with the games that you no longer love?
That's a very good question. And traditionally, the answer for me, what do I do with the games that I don't want to have in my collection, is that they just sit there collecting dust.
Okay,
I
you
have
have a huge room and have a
I
huge
have a
space.
very
Okay.
large collection, and it looks really pretty on the shelves.
So
I
you
post,
use them as a decoration.
yeah, that's a very interesting concept. It's like my games, all of my games are like a decoration. They're like a wall decoration is really
Yep.
what it comes down to. Now, having said that, when I left New Jersey to move to Florida, I had even more games than I have now. And I got rid of a good number, but there were really things that I didn't want, like things I just didn't want. Some nice things I gave to people I like and friends. It's like, oh, take this thing. I know you love this. I'm never going to play this. I gave away some nice things. But then I literally said, like, I used to run these huge game days at my house. I had a very big house there, big basement, big game day. I would just say, like, table of games, take whatever you want. Or just to make sure people didn't hoard them, I'm saying, like, take a game, anything you take is going to cost you $3 or something like that. I put some number on it, not because I wanted the money, but because I didn't want people just to like grab everything and throw it into their car, and then they'll go sell it or something like that. So people would like, yeah, I'll take that. And then I'll be like, I don't want any money. Go ahead. Just take the games. So yeah, my games that I don't really need or want these days sit in the collection as a decoration, though I will be doing a major culling of the collection pretty soon. I probably will get rid of, I don't know, I'm going to make up a number here, 20% of my games. And I know people already that are like, oh, I'll take some, people down here. I know they'll do it. I'll probably just give away things to Goodwill, for most of the stuff. Ignacy, what do you do with games that you don't want in your collection anymore?
Yes, I started doing some time ago. I have a YouTube channel in Poland doing a weekly show about board games, and I started to give these games away during this YouTube show. But I'm doing an auction, so people in the chat can bid on this game, and this money go for the charity. So I ship these games to the winner of the auction, and money goes to the charity. And of course, this is quite the crazy way to getting rid of the games, but because you have to have a YouTube channel, you have to have some audience who wants to buy games, so it is not easy for everybody to approach that. But I think it's a good way to give these games to somebody else who will enjoy them, and money from that goes to charity. So it is always a good way as well. Sometimes I also give these games away to my friends if I think that they will enjoy them more than I do. It is very hard, I think, to just sell these older games. Like the second-hand market for board games is much harder than for the books. You have second-hand bookstores all around the planet, but you don't have a second-hand board games stores all around the planet. So it is much harder to get rid of the older games that you don't want. So I came up with this idea to YouTube channel, beat, make charity, make some fun.
That's very nice. A nice way to give the money to charity. That's a very cool thing. All right. Well, we'd like to know what you do with the games that you don't want in your collection anymore. So, Ignacy, right now, as I speak, and as I see him doing it on Board Game Geek, he's creating a thread right now for you to answer that question. So please go to our guild on Board Game Geek and find our playtesting thread with this question and post your answer there. By the way, while you're there, make sure you like us and join the I guess you have to join the group, right? Ignacy, how many people we have in the group now? Well over 1,000.
1,108 people.
Not bad. 1,108. We'll never catch Tom, but that's okay. We can be like in, second, third, fourth, fifth place. I'm okay with that. We just really want to win the Golden Geek Award, right?
Correct. It's very important.
Very important to us. All right. Let's get over to the final scoring. So thank you all so much for listening, and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek. To answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this week's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so like us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, please like our pages, Ignacy's page and Stephen's page, which is /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites are portalgames.pl, portalgamesus.com, and podfathergaming.com. Please go there, sign up for the newsletters, and get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, you can speak directly to Stephen and Ignacy. On Twitter, it's @PortalGamesUS and @PodfatherGaming. Same on Instagram. And on YouTube, the channel names are The Podfather of Gaming, Portal Games Movies, and what's the new one called, Ignacy?
Portal Games Gameplays.
Portal Games Gameplays. I'm putting that right there in the notes so I can say it. We hope to see you at an upcoming convention soon. And with the new vaccines, I think this is going to happen sooner rather than later, but probably by the middle or so of the year. Predictions coming. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. If you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Ignacy, anything special? Any news? Anything you want to talk about now before we end?
I have one super small update for our hardcore fans who ask us on social media all the time about the thing, and I'm not responding to that, but I can share it right now. Neuroshima Hex app, the new version of the app, really is going well, and the updates are well done, and apparently it will be released in January next year, because for all the months I was saying we will finish it this year. Stay tuned, and I just got this week another. It is called build, I think, another build of the program, and it works. It's surprising, but it really works. And we all keep the fingers crossed that at the very beginning of the next year, new version of Neuroshima Hex, our major app, will be done. But it's top secret.
That is awesome. That's great news. I think you're going to do very well with that. You have a very big fan base for Neuroshima Hex, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll see you in a week. Take care, everybody.